Hi, today we are going to be understanding what does the year 2024 bring in for us. And this is a collective energy video, and I'm going to be using a lot of insights of planets and numerology to be talking about what is it that you can expect in this year and how can you harness the energies of this year as per whatever goals you may have defined for your coming year. I am going to be doing individual videos depending upon your either tarot or your date of birth as well, but the purpose of doing this video for a collective reading is that you should be able to understand what does this year represent or bring in with it as a part of the energies or the start of a new cycle, and how can you use it to your advantage, or what is it that you need to be careful of. 2024, when added 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 4 comes to an 8, and I'm pretty sure you must be well aware by now that it is going to be the year of Saturn. And before we jump into what does Saturn represent, what kind of energies can you expect, let's just go back way beyond in time and hear a little bit of a story. So the story goes that Sun and Sandhya were married. Sandhya is the daughter of Vishwakarma, and Vishwakarma, they say, is the architect of the entire universe. Okay, so Sun, as we know, if we just superficially also look at the qualities of the Sun, that is someone planet that is very bright. It's blazing always. Okay, because of which both Sun and Sandhya could not get intimate as much as they would like, as much as Sandhya would have liked, because the sun was always so blazing hot, so bright. Like we say ना कि सूर्य की चमक या सूर्य का तेज बहुत तेज होता है, like it's something completely different. So each time they would try and get intimate or whatever, Sandhya would not be very happy because of the brightness of sun. Her body would feel uncomfortable, to put it simply. So then what happened when Sandhya realized that okay, this is going to be a problem in continuing the marriage, and because of which probably they're going to have like not a great marriage or a great relationship, she went to her father Vishwakarma, and then Vishwakarma suggested her some puja, for which Sandhya had to leave the house. However, because both Sun and Sandhya had two small children, she could not really leave the house. So it is said that Sandhya instead parked her shadow in the home and then left the house to do the puja. Okay, and then she told the shadow only one condition, that no matter what, you will not get physically intimate with my husband. So you will do all the chores and everything, but you will not get physically intimate with my husband. However, when she left and she was like doing her puja or whatever, and she was not in the home, the shadow ended up getting intimate with the sun, and that is because the sun had come demanding that we make love. And when the shadow of Sandhya, when she tried to resist, the sun did not like it. He started getting angry, and that is when they got physically intimate. Now the sun that they have, because of this this physical relationship between the shadow of Sandhya and the sun that they have is called shani. Now when that sun was born, because the shadow of Sandhya was dark and sun, as we know, is bright and yellow, the child that was born was dark in color. Okay, that's why if we see that shani or Saturn planet is in Vedic astrology also seen as dark in color. So Sun refused to believe that it was his child, and Sun did not agree that his child could be this dark. And although Sandhya ended up revealing the entire thing to Sun and telling him that why she did what she did, and yes, the child is his, but the Sun constantly rejected Saturn as his child. Also, this entire premise made Sun very angry, and Sandhya, being a mother, wanted to protect her child, so she wanted to hide Saturn. And knowing that Sun cannot enter the sea, she hid Shani in the sea, or Patal. Patal basically means under the earth, because she knew very well that that is one place that Sun would not be able to reach. So a dark child, Saturn, was also born and brought up in the Patal Lok, which is under the earth, in the dark, in the not so bright world. It's more like a gloomy world. And this is the story of why Saturn and Sun are not friends, because in Saturn's mind, he has always felt rejected by his father, which is the sun. And in Sun's mind, he is the illegitimate child, which, I mean, he's not even his own child. And hence, there has always been a conflict between the two planets, which is Saturn and Sun. Now, what do we take from the story, apart from the fact that yes, Saturn and Sun are not friends with each other, which is going to be relevant for few people born on certain dates throughout the year. But what do we take away from the story now is that because Saturn was a child that had to parent itself, that had to take care of its own self because he did not have a father or a mother to tend him to, because of which there was a lot of early onset of maturity and wisdom in Saturn. And there were also latent feelings, or maybe not even latent, but feelings of loneliness, slight depression in Saturn, because of which also Saturn chooses to be aloof. You know, the rejection by your own parents can really ignite some strong emotional feelings in you, and hence Saturn is someone who likes to stay aloof. And you can imagine that a child who had to grow up on its own, like without the support of parents, the world would not have been kind or easy to that child, you know. And that is why it is said that with Saturn comes also the problems, comes obstacles, comes a lot of challenges, because that is what the life of Saturn also has been. But at the same time, with Saturn can also come very strong ego, because in the mind of Saturn, it's also like, "Hu main bade baap ka beta," you know, like I am the son of Sun. So, ego is also something that is associated with the year of Saturn. Saturn generally is also a planet that is not very happy with a lot of people around. They like to be a little reclusive, they like to be like within themselves. And Saturn is also a planet, you know, that is not always very good in fostering long term relationships. And it is simply to say that, you know, Saturn somehow finds everything a little bit when it comes to relationships, when it comes to fostering and nurturing a bond. They do end up finding most of the things quite pointless, because they are very reclusive and very aloof in their mindset and in their nature. But Saturn is also an extremely hard taskmaster. Saturn requires, like, for the good qualities of Saturn to come out, it requires discipline, it requires consistency. And yes, so now that I've explained a little bit about Saturn and its traits, now let's move into what you can expect in the 2024 year. There's a lot that I want to tell you for this year, and just so I don't forget anything, because there is a lot in terms of collective energies that is going to be affecting us all, I'm going to be referring to the notes that I've made on my laptop in case you see my eyes move here and there. So, talking about this year, 2024, we have already established that it's the year of the Saturn. We know that Saturn and Sun are not really friendly planets. We know now the nature of Saturn. But how will all of this translate for you in this year? First thing that you need to understand is that this year is absolutely about patience, work, routine, discipline. Like, the main objective for you this year should be to embrace boredom, which means if you're not getting to stimulate yourself on weekends, or like find something new every now and then, you feel life has become monotonous. But at the same time, with that monotony, you are constantly right there when it comes to your work. You're doing whatever it is that you've chosen in regards to like nurturing relationships, whatever your focus is for the year. If you're constantly at it, but at the same time life feels extremely monotonous, boring, then let me tell you that you have aced this year, because this year is all going to be about embracing monotony, embracing boredom, but from a happy space. The moment we do that, and if you're doing it from a victim mindset, the state of Saturn's mind, like the idea of like, oh, I'm rejected by my parents, nobody wanted me, my father did not want me. In that, what happens is, if you're doing anything, also if you're focusing on something, it's not coming from a healthy space. And that is why, a lot of astrologers don't actually see Saturn as a very positive planet. Okay, and that is why it is seen as, a planet that brings a lot more malefic effects. So if you do all of this from a happy, accepting, graceful state, then you're going to be winning this year for sure. So patience, building a routine, being disciplined is going to be the theme for you this year. Another thing to understand is that Saturn is a very, very, very hard taskmaster. You must have heard, like, Saturn always delays, or Saturn makes one work very hard, because that is all there is to Saturn. If you really want to turn Saturn around in your favor, or become friendly with the planet Saturn in your life, all you really have to do is you just have to emulate and gracefully accept all that Saturn is trying to teach you. And Saturn is literally just trying to teach you that, hey, I'll give you everything, but life will come with its own set and challenges and lessons. And as long as you understand those lessons, you learn those, and then you move on from those to newer chapters of your life, that's when I will reward you. It's just that simple with Saturn. And that's why Saturn is a very, very, very hard taskmaster. You only get what you work for. Now, because I'm talking about 2024 being the energy of Saturn, it doesn't mean that, just because the energy is like that, all of us will suddenly become very focused or very out there when it comes to whatever goals we have for this year. No, this is something you would have to constantly strive for. You would have to build this within yourself. If you don't, then let me be very honest, this is just going to be like any other regular year for you. So you will only get what you work for. Also, what you work for consistently and patiently. Suppose if you work for something for 2 months, and then you are immediately expecting that, now because I've worked for 2 months, at least I should get some reward which is equivalent to 1 month of my work. Maybe it will not happen. Instead, if you continuously work for like 8 months of the year, you never know, in the last 2 months or in the last 4 months, Saturn would reward you. And that's how Saturn functions. So कर्म करे जा, फल की चिंता मत कर. That's literally the theme of the year, okay? And they say कि this year is going to be all about work. I think it's called कर्म प्रदान. ये पूरा साल ही कर्म प्रदान है, which means that whatever work you're going to do, you're only going to get that as your result. Saturn is also seen as a planet of justice, which means that all the karma that you have done in the last few years is going to come to you. If you have done good karma, you're going to reap better or good rewards within this year. If you have not done good karma, you're not going to be reaping good rewards. And honestly, whenever I say anything about this, I just want everybody to understand that it's very easy for us to go like, oh, I'm a good person, oh, I have done good, because it's so easy to be like, oh, what have people done wrong to me? But hey, you're watching this video alone. There's nobody around you. Least you can do is just check your heart and check your soul. If you are somebody who has actually done everything right in the last few years, be it towards people, towards people, towards your work. So you just have to be really honest here. And once you are, I think you would have your own answer in regards to how 2024 is going to be there for you. So yeah, we have covered patience, we have covered that how this is definitely going to be an year of doing your work without expecting reward. Just keep at it, and only at the right time, you never know, before Saturn leaves, it might be like, hey, this is your reward. Okay. Another thing that you can just try incorporating within this year, if you are someone who has some massive goals that you need to accomplish within this year, is try doing work in the evening, because like we say that Saturn used to reside in the Patal Lok, a dark, gloomier place. If you work in the evening, Shani tends to get activated in the evening. So if you work in the evening towards anything you're trying to do, especially if you're trying to build spiritual practices, it's going to be an extremely beneficial time for you. And honestly, practically also, if you're someone who really struggles a lot with sleep and whatnot, might as well use that time, to focus and work on your goals. And even if you're trying to learn something new, devoting few hours in the evening would actually be more beneficial to you. Now, before I jump into different aspects like health, relationships, career, finance for this year, I want to talk about few remedies which might be very beneficial if you're really trying to turn around your life this year. First is going to be giving up on addictions, any kind of addictions. If you are habitual of smoking, if you shop a little bit too much, if you know that you have a habit of lying, if you could just give up on your bad habits and addictions, which again is something that requires a lot of discipline and requires a lot of self control and mind control, but if you can do that, Saturn would actually reward you very well within this year. So leaving out your bad habits and addictions is one thing. Second, if there is a way for you to become a little bit more spiritual by incorporating some spiritual practice in your daily life, it could be anything, like maybe lighting a diya at the altar, or sitting down for certain mantra chanting, or simply spending 10 minutes daily just thinking of God. But if there is any way that you can incorporate some sort of spiritual practice in your life daily, it's going to be very beneficial, because staying close to God is definitely going to be a theme yet again of this year. And कहते हैं ना, जिसका कोई नहीं होता उसका खुदा होता है. So because Saturn was somewhat abandoned by his father, his parents, so he had to turn to God, and that's exactly what we are trying to emulate here to bring in the positive aspects of Saturn in this year. The other thing that's going to be very important is workout within this year. So either you start going for regular walks, or you start going to gym, yoga, whatever it is that you can do, you need to move your body. And I'll come on to it why when I'll be talking about the health predictions for this year. But it's very important that even if you just work out like twice or thrice a week, but then physical movement needs to be a part of whatever it is that you do in 2024. Another important aspect would be gaining knowledge, upskilling, upgrading, whatever it is that interests you, any knowledge that you could gain. And see, now this is also where your bigger goals are going to come into the picture. Okay, so if your bigger goal is maybe to grow in your career, maybe you need to gain some knowledge in that. If your main goal is like to be at more peace with yourself, just find the bliss in life, maybe you need to actually read or study about mindfulness, you need to maybe learn some meditation technique. So gaining knowledge is going to be something that's very, very important this year. And if you could just set aside some time on a regular basis to do that, it would be great. Which also reminds me that somebody is very fond of reading here. This is actually going to be a great year to set a goals list, like I need to finish these books within this year. So gaining knowledge is something that's going to be very important. And not just reading, of course, but if you watch podcasts, if you want to sign up for a course, knowledge from wherever you can get, if it interests you, please savor it, please absorb it. And lastly, another remedy, I usually don't suggest such remedies, because I don't want anybody to be doing the remedy by just thinking that each time they do it, oh, I'm doing it like for this year or for my Saturn. Remedy that I'm going to suggest next is something that should be coming from heart. But if you could feed crows on a daily basis, that is going to be extremely beneficial to you in 2024. But then again, if it is genuinely done from a space of love and compassion and empathy for animals, if it is done always thinking, oh, Casey said this, I need to be doing it, I don't think it's going to be yielding any result. The biggest theme for this year is going to be that you will have to learn a lot of lessons. And the sooner you learn the lessons, the more gracious you are about everything that you're learning. And Also remember one thing, that this year might again show the mirror to you. So the lessons may not be just about the people around you or the situations around you, but it could also be you. What is it that you have been doing wrong or you need to change? So the more gracious and the more accepting you are regarding those things, the smoother this year is going to be for you. Now we are going to be moving into different aspects. I'm going to be talking about health, people and relationships external, people and relationships in regards to your family, your career and finance, and personal growth. Okay, coming on to health. So Saturn is going to bring a lot of random sickness and diseases this year to a lot of people. Okay, in fact, honestly, it could be literally to everybody. For even somebody who says that, oh, I've always been like in great health, this year you have to be a little bit cautious. There could be random sickness or sick days or diseases that might get caught on to you, and some of them may also seem a little bit nonsensical, like you may not be able to grasp or understand that what is happening or why is it suddenly happening. Okay, but most of the diseases are either going to be related to bones or nerve issues. uh, you could experience frequent morning stiffness. You could have issues with your knees. You could have issues with arthritis. So that is going to be somewhat prominent this year when it comes to health. Another thing is that in case before this year also, if you are somebody who would just randomly fall sick every now and then, or you would just feel that your body is not always there like supporting you, this might be the year when your illnesses could get discovered. Like if the doctors or nobody could really tell what's wrong with you, this is the year when they would be like, oh yeah, so this is why, like you have been having so and so troubles. So some chronic illness might also get discovered during this year. And in case you kept on falling sick, this year might provide some respite into actually understanding that at least what's wrong with my body, because once that also gets validated, it's very easier to continue from there on and take the treatment. Okay, now coming down to mental health. See, we already spoke about the traits of Saturn so much in length, and hence you need to understand that this is going to be a challenging year when it comes to your mental health. Overall, everybody can experience a surge in loneliness, wanting to be aloof, mild depression, or the feeling of feeling blue. Overall, this might be just a year, where people may not be very interested in just completely being out there with others or like socializing as much. And of course, a lot of these things would also change depending upon what your personal transits and mahadashas and antardashas are going on as per your natal chart. But just speaking generally and broadly, yes, this year is going to be bringing the feeling of being aloof, wanting to be aloof, wanting to not mingle as such with a lot of people. Another thing to note is that this year might be specifically difficult for periods who have a strong vata dosha in their body. There might be a surge in again health issues or an increase in vata in your body time and again. So I would tell you to maybe like take an Ayurvedic treatment or like just take care of that vata. The same issue might also rise up for people who have a strong pitta in their body, pitta dosh. So pitta dosh, if you have in your body, or like you're generally, your body is the kind that tends to produce a lot more heat, then again you might want to be more careful this year, because there is a chance that your body might give rise to diseases that are due to inflammation. Now coming on to your relationships and people around you, and these are external. These are not people who are your family, but your friends, your co-workers, your colleagues. That's all we are going to be looking into here. So see, like I said, Saturn is a hard taskmaster. Okay, Saturn likes discipline. Saturn is also somewhat traditional in its nature and its outlook, but at the same time could not really continue with the tradition because the father was not accepting of Saturn, son wasn't accepting of Saturn. And because he could not continue with that traditional family, he all the more craves tradition and likes tradition. Okay, so at least this year, if you are somebody who is very rebellious at work, who is someone who likes to really have a voice, always voice out their opinion, likes to have that edge in whatever they bring to the table, that's all great, but that should not come at the disrespect of your seniors, your bosses, your colleagues, or anybody. So, controlling your tongue and being very careful with how you speak, what you speak, how you word it is going to be extremely important this year. And respect towards others is something that, if you are someone who's not really always considerate about this, Saturn is going to be teaching you the hard way. So respecting your colleagues, your seniors, your bosses is something that's going to be very important this year. So, like in a very traditional outlook, boss is your senior. Now the boss may not be right, boss can be wrong, boss can be also someone who is maybe mentally abusive or like has bunch of issues, but at the same time Saturn is saying that, hey, you got to respect your boss. And especially for those who might go through some experiences with their bosses or like with anybody in seniority this year, and you just feel that like they're not being very fair to you, or they are ill treating you, etc., etc., it basically means that this was also your lesson for this year. So in that situation, you anyway still have to be respectful. You have to maintain their dignity. You have to be careful and cautious with your choice of words when you speak to them. So that's at work in regards to your bosses, your colleagues, etc. Now coming out to again your friends and your colleagues, because certain relationships in our life overlap, right? So while we have to give respect to colleagues, but at the same time, if we look at them like friends or more like people who are like a support system at workplace, you need to understand that this year is the year when the masks are going to come off completely. Meaning, I think you may already have had certain realizations anyway in the last year, because it was also the year of Ketu. But still, sometimes what happens is during the period of Ketu, the ability to take action in the right direction may not be as strong. We think that we have taken some action, but then we realize, it was not maybe the right action, or like we kind of feel stuck. But this year, everything that you ignored last year in regards to people, their behaviors, the red flags, as we like to call it in today's age and time, you're going to re-witness it within this year. And then you will realize that, oh, they always had a mask on, and I could see through it. I chose not to see through it, but now Saturn is forcing me to see through it and decide accordingly what is it that I do with this relationship. Most likely, wrong people will leave your life, or you might kick them out of your life if they are not right for you. Okay, and like I always say, it's very easy to blame the entire world and be like, oh, that person was wrong, this person was wrong, that person was wrong. Sometimes it's also us who is wrong. And I'll just reiterate what I said earlier. You're watching this video alone. Probably there's nobody around you, which means the least you can do is be honest to yourself. Why? Because what I'm going to say next is that Saturn will also, like I said, show you the mirror. So make ensure that you also take your mask off. Now this can slip in two ways. First, that you become more authentic version of yourself. You realize who you truly are, and maybe a lot of the things that you would do maybe in this era of social media due to pressure, or like comparing yourself to people, etc., you would stop doing a lot of those things, and you would start enjoying truly who you are, even if you are somebody who felt like a misfit. But at the same time, if you are someone who has not been a great friend to somebody, you are not somebody who's emotionally mature and emotionally present for people around you, you're not a good nurturer, of relationships, uh, then it'll show you the mask, and it'll show you that why maybe people don't want to be interacting with you, maybe they don't stick around in your life for long, maybe why you end up feeling that nobody really cares for you, or nobody is usually there for you. And so basically, it might be like a mirror. Whatever you might realize about people, you might be forced by Saturn. It'll happen on its own, where you would actually question, are you that kind of person yourself? And there is where you would have all the answers. Another thing to note when it comes to dealing with people around you externally and who are not your family, being quiet about whatever it is that you're doing would be beneficial, especially if you know that the people around you are not the ones that you also resonate with at a very emotional level. So, just keeping to yourself or being cautious about whom you're sharing what information with would be beneficial. Because one of the bigger lessons of this year is also going to be truly knowing your inner circle, truly knowing who are the people who are actually there for you. Now, coming on to your relationships within your family. Yeah, mostly family, friends, I would not take in here. I would mostly now coming on to your relationship within your family this year. For a lot of you people this year, you might just feel a very unexplainable disconnect from family throughout the year. This could be because everybody in the family, because of course 2024 is for everybody, right? Everybody in the family is very busy chasing their own goals, um fighting with the energies of 2024 to make it their year, to make things happen for themselves. So there would be a very unexplainable disconnect from everybody in the family. Um, it'll not be a fight, but it'll just feel a little bit very aloof. You might also feel not very understood by your own family. And I think this is where, for some of you, it might be that, because of which you might turn outwardly towards your friends, towards your colleagues. And that's where you might start realizing, oh, maybe they are not there for me. And then you're forced to like look within, that are you truly there for people? Or you start realizing, oh, they are not like really the people who understand me. And this is where you start to radiate and shine more authentically, by realizing that what is it that you need to change. So I've painted a picture for you. But yeah, uh, it's not a very great year for family, to be very honest, because again, now the history and the family dynamics of Saturn. But at the same time, if you really want to better your relationship within your family this year, or if you feel that, oh no, how do I counter this? The biggest thing is going to be just speaking very politely and with love to everybody around you, practicing a lot of patience. And I know that a lot of people come from extremely dysfunctional families, and it's extremely difficult to maintain that level headedness when it comes to interacting with your parents, your siblings, or your spouse. But at the same time, if you could just practice patience through this year and maintain the respect of the other person, while also ensuring that your respect is not getting compromised with, I think you're going to be good this year. But overall, yeah, there might be like a general disconnect within family, because everybody would like want those little pockets of where they would want to be more aloof, and depending upon the natal chart and your personal birth number energies, of course it might vary for different people. So that's one thing. The second thing is that within this year, uh, certain people would have a very challenging year with their father or with their spouse. And this is one year where it might just feel that, as if you don't see eye to eye. So, like, if you've had like a good relationship with your husband or your father or your wife for a very long time, this year might be the year where you start seeing that, oh, we don't really see eye to eye on a lot of things. And you might have to really work through things with healthy communication to make each other understand your point of view, and also take the effort to understand their point of view. So, yes, that's on the family front. For many of you, this will also be a good year in sense that, there might be like, um, for some of you actually, there might be like some sort of redemption in the family, some sort of celebrations in the family, more so towards the later half. So for few of you it would be there. For few of you there's also a chance of legal cases coming up within this year, or if there is some legal case that's going on for you since many years, then there might be a resolution this year in regards to that legal case. Positive or negative, we would know, after we know your personal details. So that is not something I would like to divulge in a general reading. So that's that. Another thing, and I'm a little wary of saying this because this is also why I feel that astrologers, tarot card readers, healers just accumulate the biggest karma, because um, sometimes some things are said with half baked knowledge, not really understanding things in totality, because this entire occult space is so vast. And then it can play on the mind of the listener or somebody else. And then if it doesn't work out like that, or if it creates some situation like that, then the karma comes on us. But I would like to risk it, because this is also something that I have been channeling intuitively since past few weeks. That is that in regards to, and this is for very select and very few people, uh, but if you are someone who in a relationship has always been questioned about how much responsibility do you actually take in a relationship, or if you're often made to feel that your spouse takes more care of you than you actually do of them. And this could be very well the truth, but at the same time you could be in a very abusive, gaslighty, narcissistic sort of a relationship. But regardless, if you have often been made to feel that your spouse takes more care of you, and they are the one who are always like nurturing you, or really like providing for you both emotionally, financially, mentally, if this part resonates, then for very 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 few of you, there is also a chance of some sort of revelation happening in the relationship in the year. This revelation could be a little bit emotionally daunting. um the word that I had in my mind was cheating, but because I don't want to plant any nonsense seeds in your mind, I would like to just elaborate that cheating need not be just infidelity, or like physically cheating or emotionally cheating on somebody. But cheating could also simply be that maybe you catch some messages of your spouse talking about you, maybe to their sister, or like to their somebody in the family, of how maybe they don't feel very appreciated by you. So some sort of revelation which could be slightly emotionally daunting is also something that I'm seeing this year. Last thing, when it comes to family dynamics and like how this year would impact families, another thing to notice that this is a year of taking responsibility. So the responsibilities may increase or may rise up within this year, and this is something that you would have to make peace with, and you would have to um, be okay with. And again, like I said, gracefully accept whatever is being thrown at you. Now, coming on to the last section of this reading, which is your career and finances. No, we'll keep career and finances the second half chapter, because the last chapter I want to keep about personal growth and spirituality. So, coming on to your career and your finances, this entire year is only about working hard. Like, do you ever see a farmer, a laborer? Um, they are just at it day in and night, taking care of the crops, taking care of the building, or whatever it is, uh, just doing their bit on a day to day basis, without realizing that they're somewhat co-conspiring with their people, and like with other farmers and laborers around, or the farmer is co-conspiring with the uh, the strength of earth, the soil, the other resources, to ultimately nurture crop or to make a building. This is exactly what the energy of the entire year is. That's it. You just have to keep on doing your work. If you remember in the starting, I spoke of that how you need to embrace the monotony and the boredom. Similarly, when it comes to if you really want to kill it in your career and your finances this year, you just have to embrace responsibilities. Be okay with those, be okay with boredom, be okay with monotony, because in your mind you need to change the narrative or the feeling around all of these words and call it as disciplined towards my goals, focused towards my goals, and consistent towards my goals. If you're not consistent, if you're not focused, if you're not disciplined, if you're somebody who would start everything with a lot of enthu, but then halfway through you will have like a bazillion excuses of anything. I could not continue it because there was so and so pressure from my other work or my kids or my husband or my family. Then you can just expect this year to be like a normal year with a lot of hopes and dreams from you, but none of them have been actually actualized. So, this is entirely an year, whatever work you put in, it will not show results, but it will stack up eventually to start showing the results. Okay, so this is completely a year of just putting your effort in, effort in, effort in. Do not question your efforts, do not question anything. Oh, when will it start bringing results or anything like that? Just put your effort in. Okay, that's one thing. Again, another thing in regards to your career or finances, we spoke about how Saturn is a little bit traditional in its outlook and its approach. So one thing that would also be really appreciated by the energy of Saturn within this year would be to um, do things in a slow, steady, traditional manner. Not the energy of Rahu, which is all about innovation and being a pioneer and like taking a lot of risks. The lesser risks you take, the smaller steps you take, the calculated steps you take, Saturn would reward you. And the more patience you would keep. So that's all that's needed when it comes to your career and your finances. People who have a habit of overspending quite a lot would again have a very strong lesson to learn within this year in regards to their money. People who are not as great with managing their money, or they take the energy of money a little too lightly, I think Saturn is going to be teaching you quite strongly about that this year, to understand the importance of money and importance of saving it. If you're somebody who is looking out for new jobs, this year you would get a new job, but like I said, it is important that you respect and show that respect to the seniors, to your bosses in that job. So if you really want to grow in a particular job, it's important that you follow the protocol, you listen to your bosses. If you're someone who's planning to start your business within this year, fabulous year to start the business, but then just understand that do not expect almost any return this kind of this year. And I'm not saying that your business will not flourish or like you will not make money, but maybe you invest a 20 and you expect that at least I should get like a 30 back. Maybe no. Saturn would ensure that you recover your 20, but then would it even be a 21? Maybe that would also not be the case. Now, when you're consistently earning, investing 20, earning only 20, you might lose motivation, and that is exactly what Saturn is going to test. Similarly, if you're going to be starting something of your own or like work, job, whatever, but the moment you have excuses like, oh, because of my family, I could not devote enough time, or because something like this happened or that happened, I could not devote time, that's again Saturn testing you and you failed the test. So anything that you start off with a lot of enthu but you don't really consistently pursue it, that you're not reaping any rewards for that within this year. And of course there are many more years to come, but that's only like if you have goals set for this year. So when it comes to your career and finances, it's all going to be about responsibility, being traditional, being wise with your money, and being slow, baby steps, but at the same time being steady, ensuring that yes, you're gradually climbing, even if you're taking only one step at a time. Now, lastly, coming on to your personal growth or spirituality, my favorite topic. Fabulous year for people who are involved spiritually into any sort of practice. If it is that you want to discover the God within you, or if you want to be more attuned with the energies of the universe, it's a fabulous, fabulous, fabulous year for that. You are slowly, if you again consistently develop the habit of sitting with your God, sitting with your own self, meditating, then it's going to be a fabulous year for you to go on that spiritual quest and discover your true self or discover your spiritual path. So that's that. Second thing that's going to be very crucial within this year is going to be some sort of exercise or workout. Like we spoke about, that yes, this is a year when you could be afflicted with diseases, unexplainable diseases, or nonsense random diseases, because of which working out and being out there, activating your body, activating your muscles, your nerves, is going to become very, very important. Overall, this year would teach you how to take responsibility. So if you are someone who is not seen as a very responsible person, or is someone like who is not actually very as responsible, needs always too many helping hands, this year is going to teach you how to truly become independent and how to take on more responsibility. For many, this year would also teach you how to take on criticism in the right manner and then evolve from that. How to understand what self criticality is and do the work that is needed. This year is going to be teaching patience to a lot of people, especially my number eights, whoever's born on the date of birth which adds up to a 2. It's going to teach you patience, it's going to teach you how to trust yourself and trust your destiny. So that is also going to be another very important theme of this year. And lastly, for all of us collectively, we are going to learn a lot of lessons within this year. And don't worry, it will not be as stuck as it was last year. While we learn lessons, we would understand how to move from those a little bit more swiftly forward and understand that where it is that our journey is headed towards. And all of this is most likely to be preparing us for what's going to come to us as a reward or as something great after 2 years. So I would say that don't let the energies of this year go to waste. Use them well. And if you're planning on not using them well, if you're planning on going with the flow, then just ensure that you don't let whatever Saturn is trying to teach you go to waste. At least you could maybe not have any specific goals or purpose in your life within this year, but least you can do is you cannot have you do not disregard the lessons at least that Saturn is trying to teach you. Okay. So yeah, that was it for 2024. This is all you can expect with the energies of Saturn. And I might actually upload a video on different birth numbers soon. If I do that, I'll keep you posted. Thanks. Bye.